and welcome back to Knits by Lizzie. My name is Lizzie and I'm a vegan knitter from New Hampshire, and we are here in my cozy little cottage. And today I wanted to do just a casual knit and chat. I recently hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which was the one goal I had going into this knitting podcast, was to hope to reach 1,000 subscribers. And so I kind of wanted to take just a little moment to celebrate and also thank each of you that have subscribed, and especially those of you who have been subscribed and taken a chance on me from the beginning when I had hardly any subscribers at all. So at the end of this video, I am going to do a small little giveaway, so stay tuned for that at the end of the video. But in the meantime, I did ask you guys, both here on YouTube and on my Instagram, if you had any questions you had wondered about me that I could answer for you. And so today I'm just gonna sit here and work on my whip and knit away and answer some of the questions that you guys had. First, I'm just gonna briefly mention what I'm wearing. If you watched my last knitting podcast, this shouldn't be a surprise because this was in my plans in my last knitting podcast, and I actually have it completely finished now. This is my Rosie sweater by LeKnit, which I knit out of Cascade Yarns Cherub Sock and Lamy Yarn Soft Sensations held together. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because this hasn't been in a knitting podcast yet, so I'll go over into all the details of this project in my next knitting podcast, which will probably be in 2-ish weeks. But this is actually the first wearing of the sweater, so I can't go into too much how it wears, but I absolutely love the rose motifs. It's so cute. The only thing that I'm going back and forth on is this like high collar. I'm thinking, I don't know, we'll see. I might go even longer and just like really lean into the mock neck, or I might fold it down or leave it, I don't know. I gotta sit with this collar, but yeah, I still think it's so cute. So that's what I'm wearing today, and I am working on a sweater for my boyfriend, which will kind of be for Christmas, but I'm not giving myself like a big deadline. It's a saddle shoulder pattern by, I don't remember the designer, but it's like a Filcolana, that yarn brand. It's one of their free patterns, so I don't know if the designer is just called like Filcolana, the yarn company, or if they actually have the name of the designer. If they do, I'll put it on the screen here. But yeah, this is a free saddle shoulder men's pattern from Filcolana that I am knitting for my boyfriend. So with that, let's dive into some of the questions you guys had. So there are two major categories for these questions. One of them is about vegan stuff, and the next category is just some knitting journey questions and knitting questions. So I will go into a little bit of some vegan questions. So a few of you asked how long I had been vegan and kind of my vegan story. So I went completely vegan in August of 2017. So we're getting up to 10 years here pretty quick. It's been 8, this past year, August was 8 years. And I was 21 when I went vegan. It was the summer before my senior year of college, and I had been vegetarian for about a year, but not 100% strict vegetarian. That year that I was vegetarian, I believe I still ate meat for like Christmas and Thanksgiving, like so for big holidays I still ate meat, but otherwise when I was at school I was eating completely vegetarian. And honestly, right now I don't remember why I initially went vegetarian in college, so like during my junior year of college. I can't remember if it was animal rights things already. At my college, you were required to live on campus all 4 years, and so that means that I actually ate at a cafeteria for all 4 years of college and didn't cook for myself, and so I was kind of at the mercy of what was in the cafeteria at my school. And I remember the meat not being very good, so I don't remember if I went vegetarian because of animal rights reasons or just because the meat was not good. But going vegetarian did necessarily lead me to thinking about being vegan, and I was doing a little bit of of reading about veganism, I remember that I was starting to watch a lot of vegan YouTubers. Like Ellen Fisher is someone that I watched on YouTube from the beginning. And then during my junior year of college, I went on a study abroad term to the University of Edinburgh, and I made a friend there who was vegan, and seeing her be vegan sort of demystified it for me and made me realize that it was possible, and like see her eat and do it successfully kind of reduce the barrier in my mind to becoming vegan. And so when I was abroad, I made the decision at some point during that time, I made the decision that when I got back from Europe, I was gonna go vegan. And so I decided months in advance, actually, from when I actually went vegan, that I was gonna do it, because I thought that I decided that I didn't wanna do a dietary change when I was traveling and out and about. I wanted to do it at home where I don't know, I guess had more resources or something to figure it out. But yeah, I actually decided months in advance that I was gonna do it. And ever since then, it was very cold turkey in that sense for me, that once I decided, or once I actually went vegan, there have been no periods of me not doing it. And it is at the point now where I cannot imagine my life in any other way. And I think if you're also vegan, I think you'll understand this, that there is sort of this thing that happens when you dive into the sort of like vegan literature and all of the information that is out there about animal agriculture and animal industries and animal welfare and all these things, that once the glass has been shattered and you start to think about, for example, like a steak not as a food item, but thinking about the animal underneath it, it doesn't seem possible for me to undo that mindset shift. So I know in my heart that this is going to be something that for me will be lifelong. And it's been 8 years going strong. And for me, when I did make the decision to switch from vegetarian to vegan, the sort of straw that broke the camel's back was environmental impact that being vegan had. But once I got into it, and like I said, was reading a lot of the vegan information, vegan literature that's out there, now for me the number one reason that I am vegan is for animal welfare. Like all of the reasons are like pretty high up in my ranking, but now animal welfare does rank higher in for me than even environmental impact. And I do also think that changes the way, it does change the way that I think about my own veganism. Another related question was, what is my favorite food? And I do like lots of food. Me and my partner, my boyfriend, we do a lot of cooking. Like we cook home cooked meal pretty much every night. Sometimes we have enough leftovers that we'll eat it for the next night. But I would say at least 5 or 6 evenings of the week we make a new meal. So we really love it, and we really enjoy eating home cooked meals for dinner every night. But I think that my favorite food is probably like brats, like hot dogs and brats, which it might be surprising coming from a vegan. But I didn't go vegan for health reasons or for like taste or anything. Like I, growing up, was a huge meat eater, and I really loved things like cheese and brats and burgers, and I would say that brats are still my favorite food. And I was so happy when I discovered the Beyond bratwurst, because I think they really, for me, satisfy that craving. And so whenever it's like my birthday, or if there's some sort of like celebratory reason we have to eat something a little different, I always vote for the Beyond brats and have those. So yeah, that's my favorite food is brats. A close second would be like some sort of cheesy noodle thing, like mac and cheese, or like a white roux with noodles. And I have learned so much over the past 8 years about vegan cooking, and a cheese sauce, like a liquid cheese sauce, is actually a lot easier to make to make vegan than you might think. Hard cheeses are harder to do. There are some companies that are doing a better job of making them, but in terms of like what you can make at home, a liquid cheese sauce to put over noodles is way easier than you might think. You just use different ingredients than you would if you were making a dairy cheese sauce. So those would be my top favorite foods. I would be super curious if anyone watching this is also vegan, what their favorite vegan foods are. And because mine is Beyond Broad, I'm very worried because I've heard that the Beyond, like as a business, isn't doing very well lately, and I would just be so devastated if I wasn't able to like have access to Beyond Broads anymore, because I don't like the Impossible meat nearly as much as the Beyond stuff. So if that company does go under, I really hope like another company buys them out or something and keeps making the same product, because I really love it. So now let's get into some actual knitting questions. I had a few people ask me about my knitting origin story and what was the first garment that I knitted. So I am a PhD student in biology and the sciences, and graduate school is pretty difficult and is a pretty stressful thing to do. I do really like what I do, but it's for sure a stressful social situation. And I had been kind of looking for some sort of creative outlet, and I actually was seeing a lot of sewing videos on YouTube being suggested to me, and I was watching this one YouTuber called Making Cassie, who she is both a knitter and a sewist, and I was really inspired by her making, and I really wanted to try either knitting or sewing. And I thought to myself, well, there seems to be less tools involved for knitting, so maybe I'll give knitting a try first, and then I'll try sewing later. Which is so funny that was like how I decided, and then I just like immediately fell in love with it. So I just like one day I went to, I think Joann's or Michael's, maybe Joann's. Got a kitty. Hi, Kenny. One day I went to Joann's, and I remember asking the person who worked at Joann's if there was some cotton yarn, and the person who worked there was very confused and didn't think that the cotton yarn was a thing for knitting, that it was only a thing for crochet. And now that I'm in this in the knitting community, like pretty deep, I know like cotton yarn is a super common thing. Even people who knit with wool will sometimes knit with cotton in the summer. So hey, be careful of the fire. So this person who worked at Joann's did not need to be confused by me looking for cotton yarn. But anyways, I got some yarn and some needles at Joann's, and I found some video on YouTube to teach me how to knit, and I learned how to knit English style, and I made a scarf. And I just made a garter stitch scarf. At the time, I think I thought that I was knitting stockinette, but garter stitch is not the same thing as stockinette. So I made a garter stitch scarf, and I gave it to my boyfriend. And then I was just like immediately obsessed and so surprised at how addictive knitting was. And it brought me so like joy and peace at the same time. I don't know if I would always think as joy as like a peaceful thing to experience. Like sometimes joy can be very like exciting, which is not the same thing as peace, but I found both joy and peace in it. And yeah, I just became obsessed. And so then that year I made, after I made those, that scarf, I made a bunch of hats for my family for Christmas. And then right after Christmas, I said, okay, I really want to try and learn how to make a sweater. And at the time, it seemed like such a huge obstacle that was gonna be impossible to overcome. And I had, when I first wanted to try to start knitting, I bought a pattern book by Kika, Veronica Lindbergh, and she has just like a basic Stay Up Till Dawn sweater, I think is what it is. She has just like a basic raglan in that pattern book, and it is knit on pretty big needles, because when I first started knitting sweaters, I had it in my mind that knitting on smaller needles was gonna take forever and be really difficult, and so I really wanted to try these big needles. And so they're knit on 7 or 8 millimeter needles or something like that. So I knit a Stay Up Till Dawn sweater, and the first time I did it, it's a raglan, and I misunderstood the directions, and when I was doing my increases, I did my increases like inside the raglan stitches. So like generally when you do a raglan, like you'll put stitch markers. For me, I always put stitch markers like before and after the raglan stitch that I'm not supposed to increase within, that you're supposed to increase outside of, so that those raglan stitches like remain straight basically and remain a seam. And I was knitting on the inside of the raglan stitches. So instead of like adding a stitch to the part that was gonna become the body and the part that was gonna become the sleeve, I was doing it just where the raglans were. And so it absolutely would not have worked, but I didn't really understand that at the time. And I got all the way almost to the end of the yoke before I realized that I had made a mistake. And I remember having a conversation with my boyfriend where I was so upset that I had made this mistake that at the time seemed huge, like maybe like a week or 2 of knitting I had wasted in my mind. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah. We have a visitor. I don't know if you can see my kitties right here. Yeah. Here we go. And I was talking with my boyfriend that I was really upset about making this mistake, and I was trying to decide whether I should go back and fix it. And he was really encouraging me to go back and fix it and do it properly, and that I would be happier with the results if I went back and fixed my mistake. And I did. I went back. I think I was increasing incorrectly the whole time, so I had to completely redo the yoke. And I went back and I remade the yoke correctly, and it worked out great. And it was like, I guess that's an example right from the get-go that it's frogging and redoing something pretty much always is worth it. There's like, in my mind, never been a time in my knitting career where I've taken the time to frog work that I've done but didn't like for whatever reason, and re-knit it. Worth it every time, 100%. And I did that on my first sweater, and I was so proud of that sweater. I loved it so much. I don't wear it anymore. This style is not, it's not really what I go for anymore, but I was really proud of it at the time. And I remember one of the first times I wore it, I was out at just like in a cute little gift shop in Vermont. There's this town in Vermont called Woodstock where there's a bunch of these cute little gift shop type stores. Like there's like 10 different ones. It's like one of those places where you don't understand how 10 shops that sell basically the same thing could all be in business at once, but they have those. And I went in one of these gift shops, and there was a woman in there who said, "Did you make that yourself?" from behind me. And now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if she was even talking to me because she was behind me instead of like facing me. But I heard her say that, and I whipped around and like had this huge smile on my face and said like, "Yes, this is my very first sweater and I made this." And I was just like so excited. And I wore that quite a bit before I made some more sweaters for myself. So that was my very first garment. I'll go grab it before the end of this knit and chat and show you guys because I still have it. But that was my very first sweater, and I also had someone ask me a question about knitting mistakes, and I think that's the biggest one that I can think of is when I was first learning to knit and I did my increases inside the raglan rather than outside of it. I've also had some knitting mistakes in terms of gauge. So when I first started knitting, I also didn't really gauge swatch properly, and I didn't understand about gauge swatches, and so I've made some sweaters that are the wrong size because of not gauge swatching. And I also have done some poor yarn choices as well. One just in quality when I first started, but then I also made this sweater or this cardigan that was supposed to be knit out of mohair held together, like lace weight mohair held together, but only like 2 strands, so still supposed to be a pretty lightweight thing. And I knitted out of Hobby Fluffy Day, which is supposed to mimic the halo of mohair, but it's a worsted weight. And so I knit this cardigan out of a worsted weight yarn. It was like one of my favorite things, knitwear cardigans. It's number 6 or 9 or something like that. And I used worsted weight yarn on something that was supposed to be knit in lace weight, and the sweater, like I completed the sweater, and it doesn't look bad, but it's definitely not the vibe that the sweater was like intended to have. And I don't think I've worn that sweater even once. Maybe once have I worn it out and about after I knit it, and it was so long ago. Like honestly, I really should frog that sweater, partially because the buttons I have on that are these really special gold lion buttons that my younger sister got for me in New York City. So I might frog it and donate the yarn and save the buttons for something different. So I've made some classic mistakes like that, but I would say the biggest mistake was when I had to completely redo a yoke because I was increasing within the raglan stitches instead of on the outside of them. Oh, here's another good question. Maybe you could share any other knitters on YouTube that you like to follow. So I do watch like not a crazy amount of other knitting podcasts, but I definitely watch some. And I kind of oscillate between who my favorites are. Right now, my favorite is probably Marlene Knits. I watch her a lot. I also watch those twins who knit, and Handmade by Florence, and Woozy by Celine, and aka Nora Knits. I watch her sometimes as well. So those are all pretty big podcasters. But I would say one that you may not have heard of that I absolutely love, that I think you should all go check out. I'm just gonna triple check to make sure I've got her username correctly, is Galanthus Knits. Galanthus Knits. She is a knitter from British Columbia, Canada, and I grew up in the most northwestern corner of Washington, just outside of Victoria, British Columbia, still in the United States, but just across the water from Victoria, British Columbia. And so British Columbia is very similar definitely in terms of like geography, very similar to where I grew up. I think there's a little bit of like cultural overlap, I would say, between like the very tip of northwestern Washington and British Columbia. Of course, there's not 100% overlap because it's 2 different countries, but when I watch her videos, it feels like a little slice of home because she's from British Columbia, which I really love that. But then also, she has a very calming presence, and her videos are just really nice. So I definitely recommend that you check those out. That would be the one that I would suspect that not everyone has heard of. But I'm guessing everyone has probably heard of Marlene Knits and those twins who knit. So I like those as well. So I also got a question of, do you have any knitted items on your list that you would love to make in the future but don't feel quite ready to tackle yet? And in terms of difficulty, at this point in my knitting journey, I feel that I could pretty much figure out any knitting technique. Anytime I have tried a new thing in knitting, whether it's cables or color work or some sort of lace motif, it has always been easier than I thought it was going to be. And if you just break these things down into their most basic unit, which is really just a knit stitch or a purl stitch or something, those are very doable things. And so if you just kind of methodically go through them, they're very doable and they get a lot easier over time. So I don't have any fears anymore. I did when I first started, but now I don't have any fears anymore about not being able to accomplish a knitting technique. Instead, this question also includes maybe a difficult pattern, a large time-consuming project, or something like that. For me, it's definitely the time-consuming part of the project, of the types of projects that intimidate me now, rather than the technique. So I've had on my list for a while is to do a completely all-over colorwork steeked cardigan. And I haven't started it yet, and I think the main reason is because of it's very time consuming, of course, in the knitting, but even to get started, it feels like I need to put a lot of time in because there's a lot of colors to choose if I'm doing this complex colorwork pattern across the entire garment. I'm kind of intimidated by choosing the right colors and getting that all sorted. So that would be my number one project that I want to do. That's definitely on my list, and I think I will do, but I haven't yet, and I think it is because it's just gonna be a big time-consuming project. But honestly, like, I should just do it and have it going on in the background and work on it here and there, you know. But on those along similar lines, I also would love to make one of those like Olympic ski jumpers, which Handmade by Florence has made at least one, maybe even two, where it's a really complex design, all over color work, sweater. Those just look so much fun to do, and one of those like breathtaking looking projects when you're done, which is always so fun. And I do feel like, again, it would be one of those things where if you look at it just like knit stitch by knit stitch, it's really not that complicated. If you just like, you know, go through your row, follow the color work chart, like it's actually a very doable thing. It'll just take a while. So that is my intimidation project at the moment. But I feel that every knitting technique is doable, and I believe that for everyone. Like, I don't think that I have any sort of special knitting talent necessarily. I think that it's just like a skill that you can develop by practice, and you know, you can watch tutorials and all these things. So I also got a question about the favorite item I've ever made, and I actually semi-recently released a video about my top 5 favorite knits, so I will definitely link that here. But of all of the knits I've ever made, my favorite probably is my Esther jacket by Petite Knit. It just seems to, I just feel like it fits my wardrobe and my aesthetic like so perfectly. So that is all of the knitting related questions that I'm going to go over today. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I might do a second one of these knits and chats, either for a subscriber milestone or for just because. So if you have any more questions that I haven't answered, please leave them in the comments, because that is the end of the knitting questions. I have one other non-knitting question here, which is favorite book and film. I would say that my favorite book is probably Jane Eyre, because it was one of those books, it just like captivated me from page one, which Jane Eyre was like written hundreds of years ago, and generally those books sometimes take me a little bit to get into them and get into the rhythm of them, but Jane Eyre is just captivating from the beginning. And it's just breathtaking, the writing and the story. It's really just breathtaking the entire time. It's absolutely wonderful, and I recommend that every single person should read that book, Jane Eyre. It's incredible. I'm sure most people have, but if you haven't, I really recommend. Even if you're not like a historical kind of book reader, I would recommend it, just because, as I said, unlike some other books written a long time ago that I've read, this one I think just captivates you from the beginning. Absolutely love Jane Eyre. And my favorite film is the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, which I have watched maybe 20 times. It has become one of my like comfort films. And I do know that some people, well, there's like some controversy about that film because it's not 100% to the book. But I would say that it's kind of impossible to be 100% to a book in any film, just because generally films, like an hour and a half to 2 hour film, is not gonna be the sufficient amount of time to cover all of the material in any book. But that film, I think, still gets a story, obviously, but another amazing thing about that film in particular, about the 2005 version, is that the cinematography in that movie is just, it's just amazing. Like there's a lot of these like really wide shots of, I think maybe Scottish countryside, even though of course it's set in England, but I think that they took some shots in Scotland too, I guess. But there's just these like amazing sort of like landscape shots, and there is this amazing score. I actually in college did most of my studying to the score of that movie, and that movie also I think captured what sisterhood is like very well. I have 2 sisters, so I always appreciate that. Just like Little Women, the most recent Little Women that came out 2019, I think, with Little Women, captured sisterhood very well as well, which is always very fun for me. But yeah, Pride and Prejudice is definitely my favorite film that I've watched 20 times. One of my really good friends who I roomed with in college, we would watch that movie together once a month, and we would get up on our dorm and have the laptop open and watch that together, which was really fun. Pride and Prejudice is actually the only movie that I own, like physically own. Like I have it downloaded, bought it from Apple or whatever, have it downloaded on my computer so that no matter if it's off of any sort of streaming service, I can find Pride and Prejudice if I want to. So those are all the questions I'm going to answer today. Before I move into the little giveaway that I was going to do, I just want to acknowledge that someone left a comment saying that they are vegan and a knitter too, and that they really enjoy my content, which this always makes my day when I get comments like this. Just so you guys know, I absolutely, it really means so much to me. That sometimes it can feel, this person is a vegan and a knitter too, and sometimes it can feel a little like those things aren't designed to overlap. And I wanted to acknowledge this comment partly just to say thank you, and that totally made my day, but also because I really hope that if there are other vegan knitters out there who do watch my content, I really do hope that this has become a place for you to feel welcomed and to feel like that knitting and veganism can go together, because the main reason why I started this channel, started this podcast in the first place, was because when I fell in love with knitting and I was watching all these podcasts, I did feel left out in a way, because the yarns that these podcasters were using were not going to be any yarns that I was going to use. Like I wasn't going to use Knitting for Olive or Santa's Garden Sunday, and I did feel like I wasn't being able to like participate fully in the community, and I just don't believe that that's actually true. Like we don't have to use the same yarn as everyone else in order to be a knitter, in order to be a part of this community. And there is, in the knitting community specifically, there is a bit of like disdain or shame associated with knitting with acrylic yarn, which is primarily what I use, and I think what a lot of vegan knitters use. And it's so strange because while I'm not a crocheter, I've heard that in the crochet community, lots of people use acrylic, and this sort of like shame on acrylic yarn is not really seen in the crocheting community. And from crocheters, it's like more specific to knitters, which is so silly. Like, well, I don't know why that is. So I really hope that if you are vegan and a knitter, that my channel has shown you at least one example of someone who is also vegan and a knitter and loves to knit. And I hope you know that you can absolutely make beautiful garments that you feel proud of and are gonna wear out and about, and you don't actually have to use wool if you don't want to. If that's not something that you feel comfortable doing, you can still be a knitter, and we're here. So that's my tiny little soapbox of the day. But yeah, thank you so much for your comment, and thank you so much to everyone who has left really kind comments on my videos. I very, very rarely get a negative comment. Like I think I've gotten 3 in the entire year that I've been doing this. They're all so kind, and I'm just so grateful for this community, and so grateful for all of you. So a huge thank you to everyone watching, and to everyone who has left comments and participated in this community. And related to that, I would like to thank you guys. Oh, drop some stitches here. I would like to thank you guys for supporting me and subscribing with a small little giveaway. So for this giveaway, I'm going to be gifting 2 patterns from Ravelry. And so part of the reason why I'm going to be gifting patterns instead of a physical item is because there would be no shipping involved and no issues with where you're located in the world. It doesn't matter if you're in Europe or the US or South America or wherever. The shipping is not going to change anything because it's going to be an electronic thing. So I'm going to choose 2 winners randomly to get a pattern of their choice. And so In order to enter the giveaway, please subscribe to the channel, because the point of this giveaway is to thank subscribers. So please subscribe to this channel if you're not already to enter the giveaway. Give this video a like, and then leave a comment down below of what pattern you would like. What's the #1 pattern on your queue that that you would love to knit and would like to get the pattern gifted to you. And then what I'm gonna do is, in my next podcast, which probably won't be the next video I release, but the video after that. So I think in about 2 weeks, in my next podcast, I will announce the winners. And so I am not going to be replying to comments that you have won. And so if there is any sort of like weird bot situation where someone is replying to you saying that you've won, that's not actually me. I'm just going to put the names of the winners in my next podcast. So that's how I'm going to announce the winners, which also means another reason to subscribe is so that you can see when those videos come out and see if you have won. So please leave a comment down below what pattern you are dying to knit, and you'll be entered into the giveaway if you are also subscribed and like this video. So that brings me to the end here today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as we sit and chat and I answer some of your questions. I hope you got some progress done on whatever knitting project you're working on right now. And so with that, I'm going to send lots of big hugs, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!